The small gold earring fell from my husband's coat and landed inside our baby's crib. For a few seconds, I could not move. I stood beside the crib with one hand on the blanket, staring at the tiny piece of jewelry near my daughter's sleeping face. It was almost 3 in the morning. My husband had just come home. I picked up the earring before the baby could touch it. It was warm from his coat, and it carried a soft smell of perfume. The perfume was sweet and expensive. It was not mine. Behind me, I heard Daniel enter the bedroom. He closed the door quietly, as if he did not want to wake anyone. I put the earring into my pocket and followed him. "Why are you home so late?" I asked. Daniel did not look at me. He took off his shoes and placed his phone on the table. "We had a problem at the office." "At 3 in the morning?" He gave a tired sigh. "Grace, I don't want to argue. I have to work again tomorrow." Then he went into the bathroom and locked the door. I stood alone in the bedroom. Water began to run behind the door. My fingers closed around the earring in my pocket. That was the moment I understood something terrible. My marriage was not beginning to break. It had been broken for a long time. I had simply refused to look at the pieces. My name is Grace Miller. I was 36 years old, and I lived in a small apartment in Columbus with Daniel and our 2 daughters. Our older daughter, Sophie, was 17. Our younger daughter, Mia, had just turned 1. Daniel was 58. He worked for a large insurance company and paid most of our bills. Before Mia was born, I worked part-time at an elementary school. I helped children who had trouble reading. I loved that job. It gave me a small income and made me feel useful. But after the baby came, I took a long break. Childcare cost too much, so staying home seemed like the best choice. At least, that was what Daniel told me. "We will be fine," he had said. "I can take care of the family." I wanted to believe him. We still owed money on our apartment. Both our names were on the loan, but without my income, Daniel had full control of almost everything. He paid the bills. He managed the bank account. He decided what we could buy. At first, I did not question it. After 18 years of marriage, I believed a husband and wife should trust each other. But in the months before I found the earring, Daniel had become a different man. He started leaving home earlier. He returned later. Some evenings, he changed his shirt before going out again. He said he had dinners with clients. He bought a new bottle of cologne, although he had not worn cologne for years. He also became careful with his phone. He carried it from room to room. He took it into the shower. He placed it under his pillow at night. When a message arrived, he turned the screen away from me. I tried not to imagine the worst. Maybe work really was difficult. Maybe I was tired because of the baby. Maybe I was becoming suspicious for no reason. I repeated these thoughts every day, but they never made me feel better. The morning after I found the earring, Daniel left without eating breakfast. I stood in the kitchen holding Mia while Sophie watched him walk out. "Dad forgot his coffee," Sophie said. "He's probably in a hurry." Sophie looked at me carefully. "Mom, you don't have to protect him from me." Her words surprised me. "What do you mean?" She lowered her voice. "I hear you waiting for him at night. I hear you crying in the bathroom." I wanted to deny it, but I could not. Sophie was almost an adult. She had been watching our family fall apart while I pretended everything was normal. "I'm just tired," I said. She looked at the floor. "Dad is never here anymore." Before I could answer, Mia began to cry. I carried her into the living room and held her against my chest. Sophie went to school, but her words stayed with me. That afternoon, I cleaned the apartment while Mia slept. When I reached the bedroom, I found Daniel's dark coat on the chair. He had forgotten to take it with him. I searched the pockets. I hated myself while I did it. I had never searched his clothes before. In one pocket, I found a restaurant receipt. The dinner had cost more than our weekly food budget. 2 people had eaten there. There were 2 glasses of wine, 2 main meals, and 1 piece of chocolate cake. The date was from the night before. Daniel had not been at the office. In another pocket, I found a receipt from a jewelry store. The item was listed only as gold earrings. My hands began to shake. He had bought earrings for another woman. One of them had fallen from his coat and landed beside our baby. I sat on the bed and tried to breathe. Part of me still wanted a harmless explanation. Perhaps the gift was for a coworker. Perhaps the dinner was a business meeting. But deep inside, I already knew. That evening, I placed the earring and both receipts on the kitchen table. Daniel came home shortly after 10. When he saw the items, he stopped walking. For 1 second, fear appeared on his face. Then it disappeared. Where did you get those? The earring fell out of your coat. He slowly removed his jacket. And you searched my pockets. Who is she? There is no she. You bought dinner for 2 people. You bought earrings. Then you came home smelling like perfume. His face became hard. It was a work dinner. Do you buy jewelry for people at work? It was a birthday gift from the whole department. Then why was it in your coat? Daniel pulled out a chair and sat down. You have been home too long, he said. You have nothing to do, so you create problems. His answer hurt more than I expected. I take care of your baby all day. Our baby, he corrected, but his voice carried no warmth. I pushed the receipt closer to him. Tell me the truth. Daniel stood again. I don't have to explain every dollar I spend. I earn the money. We are married. That money belongs to our family. You should be thankful I pay for everything. He picked up the earring and walked toward the bedroom. I followed him. Who is she? He turned so quickly that I almost walked into him. Stop asking me. His voice was low, but it frightened me more than shouting. Mia began crying in the next room. Daniel closed the bedroom door and left me in the hall. The next morning, I checked our bank account. For years, I had allowed Daniel to manage it. I knew the password, but I rarely signed in. What I saw made my stomach hurt. During the past 4 months, hundreds of dollars had disappeared in small payments. Restaurants, flower shops, clothing stores, a hotel near the airport. There were also cash withdrawals every Friday afternoon. At the same time, several bills were late. Our apartment payment had not been made that month. One credit card was almost at its limit. I checked Mia's food supplies. We had enough for 3 more days. I called Daniel. He did not answer. I called again. Still nothing. An hour later, he sent only 4 words. I am in a meeting. I stared at the screen. I wanted to throw the phone across the room. Instead, I opened the kitchen drawer where we kept old chargers and unused electronics. Daniel's previous phone was lying under a group of cables. He had stopped using it 6 months earlier, but some information might still be inside. I charged it and turned it on. At first, I found nothing. Most messages had been deleted. Then I opened the call history. One number appeared again and again. Some calls lasted only a few minutes. Others lasted more than an hour. Several happened after midnight while Daniel was supposed to be sleeping beside me. I wrote the number on a piece of paper. For almost 20 minutes, I sat at the kitchen table, looking at it. Calling felt dangerous. Once I heard the truth, I would never be able to return to my old life. But perhaps my old life was already gone. I pressed the number. A woman answered after the 3rd ring. Hello. My mouth became dry. May I ask who this is? Who is calling? My name is Grace Miller. I'm Daniel Miller's wife. There was a long silence. Then the woman gave a small laugh. I wondered when you would call. The room seemed to move around me. You know about me? Of course I know about you. Are you seeing my husband? She did not sound nervous or ashamed. Yes. The word was simple and clear. I closed my eyes. How long? Almost 5 months. 5 months. During those months, I had been waking up with the baby every night. I had been saving money by eating soup and bread. Daniel had been buying another woman flowers and jewelry. Does he tell you he loves you? I asked. He doesn't only tell me. He shows me. Her answer felt like a knife. He has 2 daughters, I said. One of them is a baby. That is between you and Daniel. You are helping him destroy a family. No, she replied. Your marriage was already unhappy before I came. Those words sounded too familiar. Daniel had probably told her that I was cold, difficult, and controlling. He had probably made himself the victim. Is he with you now? I asked. She paused. Then I heard Daniel's voice somewhere behind her. He was not in a meeting. The woman ended the call. I sat on the kitchen floor and cried as quietly as possible, because Mia was sleeping nearby. When Daniel finally came home, I was still sitting at the table. I spoke to her, I said. He stopped near the door. You called her? Yes. You had no right to do that. I almost laughed. No right. You are my husband. My phone and my relationships are private. Your relationships. The word hung between us. He had admitted it without meaning to. Daniel looked away. We have not been happy for years. I didn't know that. You never told me. You should have known. How could I know? I was raising our children. I was trying to save money. I was waiting for you every night. He threw his keys onto the table. You always make everything about yourself. I could hardly believe what I was hearing. You are cheating, but I'm the problem. I'm tired of being questioned. And I'm tired of being lied to. Mia woke and began crying. Daniel walked past her room without even looking inside. That night, he slept on the sofa. The next day, he left before sunrise. After that, he made no effort to hide the affair. He came home whenever he wanted. Some nights, he did not come home at all. When I asked where he had been, he said, "You already know, so why ask?" He spent more money. One week, our electricity company sent a warning because the bill had not been paid. I borrowed money from my younger sister, Hannah, to buy groceries and baby supplies. I did not tell her why I needed it. I only said Daniel's paycheck was late. But Hannah knew I was hiding something. She came to visit that weekend. The moment she saw me, her face changed. You look sick. I'm fine. No, you're not. My hair had started falling out. I could not sleep, and I often forgot to eat. Hannah took Mia from my arms and sat beside me. Tell me what happened. I tried to speak calmly, but after the first sentence, I began crying. I told her about the earring, the receipts, the phone call, and the missing money. Hannah listened without interrupting. When I finished, she held my hand. You and the girls can stay with me. I can't leave. This apartment is also mine. Then tell him to leave. He won't. Talk to someone who understands these things. I don't have money for a lawyer. Then start by asking questions. You don't have to decide everything today. I shook my head. I haven't worked full-time in years. I have a baby. I can't support 2 children alone. Hannah looked directly at me. You are already caring for them alone. I had no answer. That evening, Sophie came home and found Daniel in the kitchen. She had heard enough to understand what was happening. Dad, why are you doing this? She asked. Daniel continued looking at his phone. This is not your business. It is my business. You're hurting Mom. Sophie, go to your room. No. You spend money on another woman while Mom borrows money for Mia. Daniel's face turned red. I said go to your room. You don't even care about us anymore. He hit the table with his hand. Stay out of my private life. Mia screamed from the sudden noise. Sophie's eyes filled with tears, but she did not move. Your private life is destroying our family. Daniel grabbed his coat and left. I held Sophie in the kitchen while she cried. I'm sorry, I whispered. Why are you sorry? Because you should not have to see this. She wiped her face. Mom, please don't stay because of me. Her words took me back 18 years. I had been the same age as Sophie when I first met Daniel. It happened at my cousin's wedding in a small community center near Dayton. I had just finished high school. I wore a pale blue dress and spent most of the evening dancing with my cousins. Daniel was 40. He stood near the back of the room in a dark suit. He did not dance, but I noticed him watching me several times. Later, he came over and introduced himself. He spoke slowly and confidently. He asked about school, my family, and my plans. No boy my age had ever listened to me that way. Before he left, he asked my cousin whether he could visit my parents. 2 days later, he arrived at our house carrying flowers. My mother was polite, but my father was uncomfortable. You are much older than Grace, he said. Daniel smiled. Age does not matter when two people respect each other. At 18, those words sounded romantic. Daniel had a job, a car, and his own apartment. He seemed calm and responsible. I was unsure about college and afraid of making the wrong choices. Daniel appeared to have answers for everything. He told me I was mature for my age. He told me girls like me were rare. After only a few weeks, he said he wanted to marry me. My parents asked me to wait. You hardly know him, my mother warned. But Daniel said waiting would only waste time. I know what I want, he told me. I want to build a life with you. I thought his certainty was love. Now I understood that it was control. We married less than 6 months after we met. At first, Daniel was gentle. He brought home small gifts and called me his angel. I moved into his apartment and tried to become the perfect wife. I cooked his favorite meals. I cleaned every room. I stopped meeting friends when he said they were a bad influence. When I became pregnant with Sophie, I believed the baby would make our marriage stronger. Instead, Daniel began staying away from home. He missed doctor visits. He complained when I needed help. After Sophie was born, he slept in another room because the baby's crying disturbed him. I have to work, he said. You are home all day. I was young, tired, and afraid. I did not understand that caring for a baby was also work. Years later, when Sophie was 6, I saw Daniel sitting in his car with another woman. They were parked outside a grocery store. The woman leaned close to him, and he touched her hair. I recognized her from our old neighborhood. When I confronted Daniel, he first denied everything. Then I showed him the messages I had found. He cried. He said he had made a terrible mistake. He promised it would never happen again. I stayed because I had little money and nowhere I wanted to go. More than that, I stayed because I feared breaking Sophie's home. 4 years, I told myself I had protected my daughter. Now, as I watched 17-year-old Sophie cry because of her father, I understood the truth. I had not protected her from a broken home. I had taught her to live inside one. The following morning, I called the school where I had worked before Mia's birth. The principal remembered me. We may have a classroom assistant position next month, she said. Would you be interested? Yes, I answered before fear could stop me. The pay was not high, but it was a beginning. I also opened a bank account in my own name. I placed the small amount from my final teaching paycheck into it. Then I copied our loan papers, bank records, tax documents, and insurance information. I kept everything in a folder at Hannah's house. For the first time, I was not waiting for Daniel to change. I was preparing for the possibility that he never would. A week later, I made an appointment with a family law office that offered a low-cost first meeting. The lawyer did not promise an easy future. She only explained that I had choices. My name was on the apartment loan. I had rights to our shared property. Daniel could not simply leave me with every debt. I left the office feeling frightened, but less powerless. Daniel noticed the change in me. One evening, he came home early and found me filling out a job application. What are you doing? I'm going back to work. Who will watch Mia? My mother and Hannah will help until I find childcare. He stared at me. You don't need a job. Yes, I do. I said I will handle the money. You haven't handled it. Our bills are late. Daniel closed my laptop. You're acting foolish because you're angry. I opened it again. I'm acting because I can no longer depend on you. His voice became quiet. Are you planning to leave me? For the first time, I did not look away. Yes. Daniel laughed. You won't last 1 month. We'll see. You have no real career. You have 2 children. You need me. I used to think so. His smile disappeared. You will come back when life becomes difficult. Life is already difficult. That night, Daniel left again. He returned 2 days later and acted as if nothing had happened. But something had changed inside me. I no longer waited by the window. I no longer called him. I no longer asked where he had been. Instead, I made a plan. The school offered me the job. It began in 3 weeks. My parents cleared their extra bedroom for Mia. Sophie asked to transfer to a school near them for her final year. On a cold Saturday morning, Hannah arrived with her car. Daniel was not home. Sophie packed her clothes and books. I packed baby supplies, family papers, and a few personal things. I left the furniture behind. I also left the wedding photos. Before I walked out, I stood in the kitchen where I had spent so many years waiting. Nothing looked different. The cups were still beside the sink. Daniel's coffee was still on the shelf. Mia's small chair stood near the table. But the apartment no longer felt like my home. It felt like a room where I had been holding my breath. I placed my key on the table. Then I carried Mia outside. Daniel called that evening. When are you coming back? I'm not. Stop behaving like a child. I have spoken to a lawyer. He was silent for several seconds. You did what? I am filing for divorce. His voice changed immediately. You can't do that without talking to me. I tried talking to you. You're destroying this family. I almost answered in anger, but then I stopped. No, Daniel. I'm finally taking the girls out of the destruction. He began shouting. He said I was ungrateful. He said no other man would want me. He said I would lose the apartment and spend the rest of my life struggling. I listened until he stopped. Then I said, I may struggle, but at least the struggle will be honest. I ended the call. The months that followed were not simple. I woke early, prepared breakfast, took Sophie to school, and went to work. My mother cared for Mia during the day. At night, I completed paperwork and tried to understand every bill. Some weeks, I counted every dollar. Sometimes I cried in the car before walking into work. But each day became a little easier. The divorce moved slowly. Daniel argued about money and blamed me whenever we spoke. He also asked me to return several times. He never said he was sorry. He only said life would be easier if I came home. That was how I finally knew he did not miss me. He missed the woman who cooked, cleaned, waited, forgave, and remained silent. That woman no longer existed. Almost a year later, I received an offer from a school in a smaller city. The job paid better and included health insurance. The city was 2 hours away, but Sophie had already graduated and planned to attend a nearby community college. We decided to move. Our new apartment had only 2 bedrooms. The kitchen was small, and the building was old. But sunlight came through the windows every morning. Sophie placed family pictures on the walls. I bought yellow flowers for the table. Mia learned to walk across the living room. The first time she reached me without falling, all 3 of us cheered. There were still difficult days. There were nights when I worried about money. There were moments when I wondered why I had stayed for so long. But the apartment was peaceful. No one came home at 3 in the morning smelling of another person's perfume. No one hid a phone. No one shouted when a question was asked. One evening, Sophie sat beside me near the window. Mom, do you still love Dad? I thought carefully before answering. I love the person I believed he was. Is that the same thing? No, I said. I don't think it is. She rested her head on my shoulder. I'm glad we left. I looked across the room at Mia sleeping peacefully on the sofa. So am I. Sometimes I still remember the gold earring. For months, I believed it was the object that destroyed my marriage. Now I see it differently. The earring did not destroy anything. It simply fell into the one place where I could no longer ignore it. Beside my sleeping child. Beside the life I needed to protect. Daniel had spent years making me feel weak. He told me I could not survive without him. But every day after I left proved that he was wrong. I did not become fearless. I simply stopped allowing fear to choose my future. My life is not perfect now. It is busy, uncertain, and sometimes lonely. But when I turn the key and open my front door, I know what waits for me. My daughters. A quiet home. And a life that finally belongs to us. 6 months after we moved, Daniel appeared outside my school. It was late afternoon. Most of the children had already gone home, and I was carrying a box of reading books to my car. At first, I did not recognize him. He looked older. His coat was wrinkled, and there were dark circles under his eyes. He stood near the parking lot with his hands in his pockets. Grace, he called. My body became still. For a moment, I was back in our old apartment. I remembered the locked bathroom door, the unpaid bills, and the nights I waited beside the window. Then I looked at the school behind me. This was my workplace. My car was mine. The keys in my hand belonged to my new home. Daniel no longer had control over this part of my life. What are you doing here? I asked. I wanted to see you. You could have called. You don't answer my calls. That is because the divorce is finished. We only need to speak about Mia. He looked around the parking lot. Can we go somewhere private? No. Grace, please. I had rarely heard him say that word. He used to give orders. He expected people to follow them. Now his voice sounded tired. What do you want, Daniel? He lowered his eyes. Things have changed. I waited. The woman I was seeing left me. I felt no surprise. Daniel continued. She found someone else. She took money from me and disappeared. I almost laughed at the strange truth of it. The man who had lied to me for years was angry because someone had lied to him. I'm sorry that happened, I said. You don't sound sorry. I'm sorry for the pain. But it is not my responsibility. He stepped closer. I made mistakes. Mistakes. I know I hurt you. You did not forget our anniversary or lose your temper once. You lied for years. You spent our family's money. You made Sophie cry. You left me alone with a baby. I said I was sorry. No. You said you made mistakes. His face became hard for a second. It was the old Daniel again. Then he controlled himself. I want my family back. I looked at him carefully. Which family? Our family. You had a family. You chose to leave it every night. I was confused. You were not confused when you bought her jewelry. He looked away. I was unhappy. So was I. But I did not betray you. Daniel rubbed his face with both hands. I don't know how everything became so bad. I do. He looked at me again. You stopped seeing us as people. You saw me as someone who would always wait. You thought Sophie would always forgive you. You thought Mia was too young to understand. She is my daughter. Yes. And being her father means more than sharing her last name. He was silent. A cold wind moved across the parking lot. I pulled my coat closer around me. Can I see her? He asked. You have scheduled visits. You know what I mean. Can I come to your apartment? Can we have dinner together? No. Why not? Because my home is peaceful. I won't cause trouble. You bring trouble whenever you refuse to respect a boundary. Daniel's mouth tightened. You have changed. Yes. You used to be kind. I am still kind. I am simply no longer easy to control. He stared at me as if he had never seen me before. Perhaps he had not. For 18 years, he had only seen the version of me that tried to keep him happy. He had not noticed the woman beneath that fear. I loved you, he said quietly. I thought about the flowers he gave me when I was 18. I remembered his promises and the way I once believed every word. Maybe you loved the way I made your life comfortable. That isn't fair. Neither was our marriage. A teacher walked out of the building and waved to me. I waved back. Daniel looked uncomfortable. He did not want anyone else to see him standing there. He had always cared about appearances. I need to go, I said. Grace, wait. I opened my car door. What? Do you ever think about coming back? No. The answer came easily. It surprised both of us. Daniel's shoulders dropped. Not even for the children? I left for the children. He did not follow me when I got into the car. In the mirror, I watched him stand alone in the parking lot. Once, that sight would have broken my heart. This time, I felt only sadness. Not because I wanted him back, but because he had reached the end of his choices and still did not fully understand them. When I arrived home, Sophie was helping Mia build a tower with colorful blocks. Mia placed one block on top of another, then clapped for herself. You're home, Sophie said. I took off my coat. Your father came to my school. Sophie's smile disappeared. What did he want? He wants us to be a family again. She looked down at the blocks. Are you thinking about it? No. She looked up quickly. Really? Really? The tension left her face. I sat beside them on the floor. I will never ask you to choose between us, I said. He is still your father. You are allowed to love him. Sophie was quiet. I do love him, she said. But I don't trust him. I understand. Sometimes I feel guilty. For what? For being happier without him. I reached for her hand. You do not need to feel guilty for feeling safe. Mia knocked down the tower and laughed. Sophie smiled. Together, we began building it again. A few weeks later, Daniel met the girls at a public park. I stayed nearby but gave them space. At first, he tried to impress Mia with expensive toys. She was shy and stayed close to Sophie. Daniel did not know her favorite song. He did not know she hated bananas or that she carried a small yellow blanket everywhere. He had missed many simple things. But during later visits, he began asking questions. He learned how to prepare her snack. He learned which books she liked. I did not know whether he had truly changed. I also understood that his relationship with the girls was not mine to repair for him. He would have to build it slowly. He would have to accept that trust did not return because he wanted it. Trust returned only after many honest actions. Sometimes, it did not return at all. My own life continued moving forward. The school gave me more responsibility. I began helping new teachers plan reading lessons. Later, the principal asked whether I wanted to study for a full teaching position. The idea frightened me. I had not been a student for many years. What if I fail? I asked Sophie. She smiled. You left Dad, started a new job, and moved to another city with 2 children. I think you can take a class. So I registered for an evening program. Twice a week, I studied after Mia went to sleep. Some nights, I was exhausted. I read the same page 3 times without understanding it. But I continued. Each finished assignment felt like a small door opening. One summer evening, almost 2 years after I left Daniel, I sat on our small balcony. Mia was drawing with chalk. Sophie was studying at the table inside. The sky was orange and pink. My phone rang. It was a number I did not know. For a second, my heart reacted in the old way. Unknown numbers once meant secrets. They meant fear. Then I remembered that I did not live inside that fear anymore. I answered. A woman said she was calling from the college. I had completed my program and passed my final course. I thanked her and ended the call. Then I sat quietly, holding the phone. Sophie came outside. What happened? I passed. She screamed and hugged me. Mia did not understand, but she ran over and hugged my legs. We laughed together on the balcony. That night, after the girls were asleep, I stood near the window. Years earlier, I had sat beside another window and waited for a man who did not respect me. I had watched the street and asked myself when he would return. Now I looked outside and asked a different question. Where would my life take me next? I did not know the answer. For the first time, not knowing did not frighten me. It felt like freedom. Sometimes, leaving is not the end of love. It is the beginning of self-respect. But what would you do? Would you forgive someone who broke your trust? Or would you choose a new life?